This is PRIME7 Local News with Madeleine Collignon, Kenny Hinkley and meteorologist Carl Linders with your local weather. Now, PRIME7 Local News at 6.
Tonight, get out, run. A young Albury man tells of being caught up in America's worst mass shooting.
An aged care facility in lockdown with flu, taking no risks after the recent Wangaratta tragedy.
A slap in the face for diggers as the Greater Hume Council dumps a word memorial from 2 local pools.
And a thundery change developing later Thursday. Weather details coming up next.
Good evening. An Albury man caught in the horror mass shooting in Las Vegas has described the chaos which erupted around him.
22-year-old Amon Bray was staying in the hotel next door to the Mandalay Bay, where a gunman opened fire on 22,000 festival goers. Mr. Bray's hotel was placed into lockdown by police. He spoke to PRIME7 News from Los Angeles today.
They're the scenes which have shocked the world. 59 people were killed in the shooting and 500 injured. Authorities fear that number could rise. Albury's Amon Bray was in the Luxor Hotel right next to Mandalay Bay, where the carnage unfolded. He'd only arrived a day before and was inside the casino when chaos erupted.
Masses of people just came storming in from the southern side of the casino, just shouting out that there's a gunman, there's been shots, get out, run.
He joined the stampede of fleeing people and headed towards the neighbouring Excalibur Hotel, unsure if he was headed towards safety or danger.
Fear started to creep in because then I thought that there was a real possibility that the gunman was in our hotel, well not our, but the hotel that I was currently in.
Hours later, he was finally allowed to return to his room, relieved he'd escaped the terror. The 22-year-old took to Facebook to let friends and family know he was safe and thank them for their love and support. He's now in Los Angeles and returns home next week. He says he won't be deterred by the terrifying event.
There's probably a good chance I will return to Vegas. Don't know whether I'll stay there again.
Josh Fabrich, PRIME7 News.
Despite the horrific events in Las Vegas, the Shooters, Fishers and Farmers Party continue to fight for softer gun laws in Australia. According to the party's leader, gun owners here should be able to buy and use the same kind of weapons responsible for deaths of thousands in the US.
There were at least 23 weapons found in gunman Stephen Paddock's hotel room on the 32nd floor of the Mandalay Bay Resort. Machine guns and illegal firearms the 64-year-old used to rain terror on unsuspecting festival goers in Las Vegas. 59 are dead, 527 are injured, and anti-gun protests have been erupting across the United States. No more massacres! Political leaders from across the world are, once again, calling for the US to toughen its gun laws. But in what can only be described as odd timing, Australian Shooters, Fishers and Farmers Party today called for semi-automatic weapons to be legalised in Australia, despite the ongoing carnage in the US.
I don't see that being a problem at all. The sort of firearms that that poor unfortunate fellow was using have never been legal in Australia, have never been sold legally in Australia, have never been used in Australia. So they simply don't come into the equation when it comes to discussing firearms laws in Australia.
In 1996, all states subscribed to the National Firearms Agreement. Since then, the number of gun-related deaths has dropped significantly. Mr. BORSAK wants those laws reversed.
The settings are right. We don't need to wind them back. We don't need to see American-style gun laws come into Australia.
We are very, very proud of our strict gun control regime in Australia.
The National Gun Amnesty has seen more than 26,000 firearms handed in across New South Wales. That's almost double the amount given up by any other state.
Theft of firearms is an issue across New South Wales and across the country. The less firearms that are out there, the less likelihood that they'll be stolen.
Samantha Costin, PRIME7 News.
Border nursing home is in lockdown tonight after an outbreak of flu among residents. While lockdowns are common for things like flu or gastro, managers are understandably cautious following the tragic flu deaths of 8 nursing home residents in Wangaratta last month.
Albury's Delacourt aged care facility is the latest to suffer from flu outbreak. Now in lockdown, 8 of the 122 residents are in isolation, with strict restrictions on who goes in and out of the facility.
We restrict any comings and goings as far as is possible. There are no group meetings.
Nursing homes throughout the country are on high alert after 8 residents died from the flu at St John's Village in Wangaratta last month. In that case, more than 123 people had the flu at some point during the epidemic. Management and staff at Delacourt are taking all precautions to ensure the same thing doesn't happen there.
We have a responsibility, as do all health and allied health facilities, to report to the Public Health Unit whenever we have more than 2 cases at any one time of influenza or gastro, for that matters.
On September 1st, 2 cases of influenza were reported. 3 weeks later, 40 residents and 30 staff were affected. Management say even those vaccinated fell ill and claim the low staffing numbers placed a heavy burden on the facility. The facility is practising extreme hygiene precautions. They warn anyone suffering flu-like symptoms to stay away from the facility for the well-being of vulnerable residents.
They're very prone, as you can understand, to be affected by things like this that occur and that they're subject to.
Meanwhile, staff at the Bupa Aged Care Facility in Wodonga have begun industrial action after 14 months of negotiations broke down. Staff are seeking improved staffing levels, better wages and conditions. Eleanor Tabone, PRIME7 News.
Police have released video surveillance of 2 men attempting to steal thousands of dollars worth of goods from a Wodonga supermarket. The footage shows the men entering Woolworths in central Wodonga, stocking up a trolley with more than $2,700 worth of items, including vitamins, cosmetics and baby formula, before leaving without paying. The men were pursued by staff but couldn't be stopped.
Just urge, if anyone recognises the 2 males in the images, to contact Crime Stoppers or Wodonga Police.
One man is described as a Pacific Islander, the other Caucasian, both in their 50s. If you recognise them, call Crime Stoppers.
There's anger tonight over plans to change the names of Henty and Holbrook swimming pools. The Greater Hume Shire is planning to remove the word memorial from the names, prompting a furious backlash from the RSL and local residents.
Veterans say it's an insult, a mark of disrespect to returned servicemen and women who paid the ultimate sacrifice to their country. Councillors of the Greater Hume Shire voted to remove memorial from the names of the Henty and Holbrook swimming pools following major upgrades to both facilities.
We have a number of World War II veterans still in our sub-branch. We have 3 or 4, and they're quite distressed actually by the fact that the name memorial that the council has moved to remove memorial from the title.
The Holbrook RSL paid for about 30% of the original pool, which was built just after World War II. They were largely unaware of the decision to change the names.
Now, I'm not aware of any consultation with the RSL or with the veteran community or the community general whatsoever.
An online petition to keep the names the same has been launched by local residents. It's already received more than 240 signatures.
It doesn't really matter how many signatures are on there. The fact is that there is people in great support of keeping the name.
Apart from the online petition, residents were also encouraged to write to the General Manager of the Greater Hume Shire Council. It's understood he was inundated with letters from unhappy ratepayers. Despite this, neither he nor the council would comment on this fiasco.
Council's there to serve the community and they should be listening to the community.
The petition will be handed to council in the days ahead. Jessica Gledhill, PRIME7 News.
Some of Australia's most iconic national parks will be free to the public this weekend to mark the National Parks and Wildlife Service's 50th birthday. There are 45 national parks across the country where you normally have to pay to drive in and park. But not this weekend. One of the most spectacular in the country is right on our doorstep. There will be free entry to the Yarangabilly Caves in the magnificent Kosciuszko National Park. Almost got that wrong, Maddie.
You almost got it. You got there in the end. It's time now for a quick check of the weather with meteorologist Carl Linders.
Carl, definitely we didn't need the jumper today. It was beautiful.
Beautiful weather across the region, Kenny. A beautiful week so far. Temperatures again, a couple of degrees above average, mid-20s right throughout. Clear skies, cool nights still, 4 to 24 in Bright, and up high at the Alpine Peaks above 10 degrees. Still some good skiing, I was going to say surfing, good skiing there at the moment for October. Plenty of cloud is starting to drift in towards the Great Australian Bight. There is a complex low and cold front moving through. Not a great deal of moisture ahead of it, so not heavy rainfall expected from this particular trough, but it's certainly going to bring the instability up through New South Wales over the weekend, so rainfall will return to our outlook through the weekend. Before then, partly cloudy skies and generally warm temperatures. So not too bad, guys. I think we've certainly turned the corner, Maddie, with winter time, which is good for you, but
I'm okay
good.
with that. Bring on the surfing instead of the skiing.
Indeed.
Thanks,
See
Carl.
ya.
See you later.
Still to come in Prime 7 News, why we're seeing fewer fights in our local pubs.
And going green, city folks snapping up border farms.
Stay in touch 24/7 with Prime 7 News.
New statistics show there's been a significant drop in the number of fights inside local pubs and clubs. Crime figures reveal a no-nonsense approach has seen assaults on or near licensed premises in Albury almost halved since 2008. It's not all good news, though, with the number of ICE-related hospitalisations in the region skyrocketing.
That's a serious concern for the entire community, both police and licensees.
The Australian Hotels Association is now working with police to deal with drugs in pubs and the wider community.
Regional property prices have remained solid over the past few years thanks to strong livestock prices. Rural property agents say there's no better time to snap up a decent block of farmland just outside city limits.
Huge lots and stunning views. It's a green dream turning to reality for a growing number of town and city residents. Agent James Brown says whole farms or small hobby farms are growing in popularity. The Border Local has just opened an office specialising in these sorts of properties, as well as livestock, after years in residential real estate.
It offers a great lifestyle aspect with being so close to town. Whether you're still a busy professional or the kids are still going to school, it's not that far to jump back in and go grab the milk and bread.
Recent data reveals average farm values in northern Victoria have risen by 8% over the past 5 years and 3.9% in southern New South Wales.
And I don't think that's going to back off. Our commodity prices, or our beef commodity prices, have softened a little bit over the last quarter and the last couple of months, but our land values are still going to maintain.
Obviously, big properties are more expensive than smaller blocks, but not out of reach in our region. He says small farms not far from our major regional centres can be snapped up from as little as $600,000.
The enjoyment they get from mowing lawns all weekend, or the fact that they want to have a couple of potty calves or a couple of ponies running around for the kids, there's so much on offer once you step outside of city limits.
Josh Riberich, Prime 7 News.
For the first time, Victorian seniors will not be charged to travel on public transport for the entire 8 days of Seniors Week. They can travel for free on all Melbourne trains, trams and buses, as well as regional trains, coaches and buses. Seniors need to carry their seniors myki and Victorian seniors card and touch on and off as per usual.
Still to come in Prime 7 News, we hit pit lane with the King of Bathurst.
And a Kiwi cricket superstar ready to fire on the Borders pitches.
Former international cricketer Daryl Tuffy has arrived on the border ahead of schedule, and he was expected to arrive around Christmas. But the big Kiwi all-rounder is here now and ready to take to the field for Lavington ahead of the new season.
He's mixed it with the world's best, even toppling some of Australia's biggest names. And now Daryl Tuffy has arrived on the border, ready to terrorise some of our best batsmen.
Edge, got him, gone! Oh, that's a timely one for Daryl Tuffy.
Tuffy played 26 test matches and 94 one-day internationals for the Kiwis as a bowling all-rounder. His wife is from Echuca and a number of family connections has brought him to Albury. The New Zealand international originally didn't expect to play many games before the end of the year, but he settled in earlier than expected and hopes to play in the first 2020 match of the season later this month.
Yeah, the guys have been fine. I've been to a couple of trainings so far and kind of just settling in, getting my feet wet again in terms of cricket. So I'm really looking forward to the games next weekend.
Tuffy stands well over 6 foot and consistently reached speeds of over 130 kilometres an hour during his career. So opposition players probably won't be thrilled with his inclusion into the league, but Tuffy jokes those days are probably behind him.
No, that's my heyday day. That's when I was 25. I'm 39 now, so I'm just hoping to stay together in one piece, really.
Tuffy has spent the last few years doing more coaching than playing, and while he hopes to contribute on the field, he says he has plenty to offer off the park as well.
Yeah, hopefully impart a bit of knowledge along the way and hopefully just help win a couple of games this year. So no, if I stay in one piece, I'll be pretty happy.
Tuffy will try to brush off a few cobwebs during Lavington's 2 practice matches on Thursday night and Sunday before the season's opening round next weekend. Fletcher Doherty, PRIME7 News.
When it comes to contenders for this year's Bathurst race, everyone has the Dick Johnson racing team in the frame to win. Fabian Coulthard and Scott McLaughlin will be hard to beat, and their legendary boss can't wait to let his 2 Fords loose.
Mount Panorama is a special place, and Scott McLaughlin knows that all too well.
I drove up here with my girlfriend yesterday. We got in, and I instantly got goosebumps that I drove in the track, and it's an awesome place, really magical, and something about it that gets you excited.
The DJR team is excited, and they're in form.
I would love to try and get it done this weekend. I think we've got a really good car, a really good shot. I've got a great co-driver and team behind me, and I feel like we can do it.
We can only go off our recent form. We've had good success here in the past, so hopefully we can put that into this weekend and come away with another strong weekend. So the team's giving Scotty and I both very quick cars, and hopefully we can get the job done.
Fabian and Scott, in the Shell V-Power cars have done remarkably well this year. Probably better than expectation, to be quite honest. But in this situation, when you get the ball rolling, it really starts to roll. And
both Coulthard and McLaughlin had their best finishes at Bathurst in 2015. In 2010, Coulthard had one of the most famous crashes on Mount Panorama. He's now overcome the difficulty of returning.
2011 was probably the toughest. You go down Conrod Straight and have a look over and sort of remember the aftermath of what happened, and now it's a distant memory.
Scott and Fabian are hoping for fond memories after Sunday. Tom Corrigan, PRIME7 News.
Albury native Anthony Miles has won Richmond's Ghanaian medal. The medal is awarded to the club's VFL best and fairest. Miles won with 64 votes in a seesawing season for the 26-year-old. The North Albury product managed 5 AFL games but struggled to hold his spot in Richmond's senior side after being an integral part of their midfield in the past seasons.
I suppose at the start of the year I didn't set out to play so much VFL footy, but it's been an enjoyable year.
The gritty midfielder is out of contract and could potentially be on the move this trade period. Winton Raceway will host a round of the V8 Supercar season for the next 2 years after the Benalla Auto Club received $600,000 of funding from the Labor government today. The future of the V8 round at Winton was in doubt last year after the club feared they couldn't afford to host the event. But now local rev heads can breathe easy with V8 action guaranteed for our region for the next 2 years at least. Could we see some thunderstorms move through tomorrow? That's the question. Well, Carl has the latest answers for us with our local weather straight after the break, right here on PRIME7.
For a closer look at the weather forecast, we're joined once again by meteorologist Carl Linders.
Carl, a little bit different tomorrow. We are potentially on the lookout for thunderstorms. Is that right?
High-base thunderstorms, Kenny. Not a lot of moisture in the atmosphere, so we'll certainly have some rumbles of thunder around. Not heavy rainfall, but along this trough, we'll see the instability kick off from mid-afternoon. As I said, only isolated showers and storms connected to this low-pressure system. As it moves through, winds will tend west to southwesterly. Fine on Friday, but moisture returning from late Saturday into Sunday with another bout of showers and storms moving through. Better chance of rainfall on that one. That'll slide through New South Wales. quick ridge of high pressure, and then we repeat the process again this time next week. I've cast the maps just a little bit further on for the chance of heavier rainfall, and one of these systems will eventually do something very similar to this because there is a lot of moisture coming in off the Coral Sea. So all the ingredients are there for lots of rainfall through Australia at the moment. Wettest we've seen it in about 6 or 7 months, and overall we'll eventually get a big band of rain and that'll clear things through. But before then, isolated showers tomorrow. Temperatures in the low to mid-20s. Depending on the timing of that change, isolated thunderstorms from around Wangaratta east and north, and temperatures will slide away after that. We'll see the showers in the southeast of our region clear up on Friday. Partly cloudy with fresh southerly winds in the far west, but really not much rain is expected in this sequence. Saturday, a dry day. Light winds, high pressure returning. A lovely start to the weekend after a relatively cool start. Maybe some fog patches around as well. Sunrise tomorrow at 20 minutes to 7, and then the outlook has got a mixed bag. A couple of showers and storms late on Sunday, tending to rain overnight. That'll clear on Monday, and then maybe another stormy change by Wednesday. This time next week, guys. Mixed bag.
A grey old week ahead, by the look of it.
Maybe.
Thanks,
See you
Carl.
guys.
Catch you soon.
Let's check petrol prices for you. Albury drivers can fill up for unleaded for $1.25 and diesel for $1.26. Across the border in Wodonga, diesel motorists can zoom away with a full tank for a bargain price of $1.24. In Wangaratta, the average price for unleaded is $1.31, and in Corowa, unleaded is at $1.32.
That's all we have time for tonight. You can join the debate on tonight's stories on Facebook.
And catch tonight's top stories on our website. Thanks for watching. Coming up, 7 News from Melbourne. See you tomorrow.